everyone, my name is Natalie Lyons, and today I will be going over a presentation on how to make terrific tea. First, we will go over the materials that we need. This is the physical requirements for making tea, the ingredients or the flavor enhancers to make the tea better, and finally, the most important part, process is key. Before we get into that, did you know that Penn Medicine states when you are drinking hot tea, you are actively boosting your immune system, warding off inflammation, and in some cases, depending on what kind of tea you're drinking, of course, you are preventing heart disease. But before we get into that, a little bit about my background. My maternal grandmother ran an apothecary. So I know a thing or two about making tea. I also know a thing or two about coffee jitters. Most of us enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning. It's refreshing, it's relaxing, it's a little pick-me-up before work. However, caffeine content in coffee is very, very high, especially compared to tea, which only has a moderate amount. So whenever you're drinking coffee, you're running the risk of what many of us are already struggling with, and that is a caffeine addiction. Additionally, since you're intaking so much caffeine, you're getting jittery, you're getting anxious, restless, all of the above. All other words used to describe anxiety can be described whenever you drink too much caffeine. And the benefit of drinking tea as opposed to coffee is that you will not have that jittery, that anxiousness. You won't feel as restless after drinking tea, and it will give you a nice little boost. Back to the presentation now. We will be going over what materials we need now. So first, you preferably need a kettle. Now, a stovetop can work pretty well, but I find that better quality tea comes from a kettle. Second of all, of course, this is a given, you need a tea bag of your choice. This could be any flavor. My favorite is peppermint. Third of all, you will need a mug with a handle, and that's just because your mug is going to be really hot and I don't want you to burn yourself. Next, we will be going over the ingredients or the flavor enhancers, as I mentioned prior, to making good tea. So first of all, brown sugar. Brown is in all caps because I believe that most teas work better with brown sugar. Now, if you're in a pinch, you can use white sugar and lemon. However, most of the time, white sugar is just not going to be as good unless you are making white tea. Second of all, you're going to need honey. I like natural honey because it isn't processed quite as much. It's only strained. So it's more natural, obviously as the name suggests. And I find that it's not quite as sweet as processed tea because personally, whenever I go to make a cup of tea, I don't want like a sugary gumption. I want a refreshing, bitter tasting cup of tea. And bitter as in gently bitter, not too much bitter. I promise, don't doubt me here. But third of all, you will need mint leaves, which are optional. This just depends on what kind of tea you're making. If you don't think mint is going to go well in your tea, do not add mint. I will be using the mint leaves in my demonstration here, but you don't have to. Fourth of all, you will need coconut oil, which is also optional. I find that it makes it taste thicker, makes it smoother down the throat. You can also find additional enhancers on the Wise Ape Tea website. They have a blog they run. Who better than to ask than the people that are distributing this tea? So finally, for our final part of today's presentation and the most important key part that I mentioned earlier, we are going to go over how to make the tea. First, you want to boil 1 cup of water. Measurements are important because if you put too little, the tea will taste too strong. And if you put too much water, then it will be weak and it just won't process the correct way. It won't be good. Second of all, you are going to steep. As soon as the water begins to boil, you want to steep it, because as mentioned in the first step, it's very crucial to measure how much water that you had. If it overboils, you will lose water and it won't be exactly what you measured. Step 1 and 2 kind of tie in together that way. Third of all, you wait. For a subtle flavor, wait around 4 minutes. I prefer around 6 to 8 minutes because I like stronger tea, but it really just depends on what your preferences are there. Food.com mentions that the most important part is to add the water to the mug where your bag is, not vice versa. Do not put your tea bag into the water. Just to highlight that. So for step 4, you are going to remove the tea bag. After you wait for your preferred time, remove the tea bag and possibly the mint from the mug, because you added the mint. Oh my goodness, I forgot to mention that. I am so sorry. Step number 5, add 2 teaspoons of brown sugar and a teaspoon of honey to your tea. Step 6, you will melt the coconut oil. I would prefer to use a small amount, but it just depends on how thick and smooth you want that. A pea-sized amount works best. It varies from there, but I would recommend a pea-sized amount. 7, stir well and enjoy your tea. You have just made terrific tea. You're so excited to drink it. If you don't want to wait for it to cool down, you can add a large ice cube and it won't take from the flavor. Thank you for joining me for my presentation today. I appreciate you so much. On a final note today, if tea can't fix it, it's a serious